I want to be able to show other people scuba diving and the joy that it gives me, and hopefully that joy can be sort of passed on to someone else, and who knows, maybe someone will enjoy it even more.
Off gassing.
A scuba podcast
with host Simon Bailey. As young adults, many of us are faced with choices that will lay the foundation for adulthood. What may seem to be the right choice isn't always the best choice. A decision was made, and Bogi Krossteig has never looked back. Founding North Atlantic Diving in the Faroe Islands, he has pursued a career in diving that all started with 3 pieces of a puzzle, which he describes as his holy trinity. Bringing new ideas to old ways, technical and overhead diving, challenges of opening a dive center, the beauty of the Faroes, and much more. Please enjoy this Takeover episode hosted by Simon Bailey.
Cool. I'm going to stick sort of a little bit to Nick's format for the chat. Very informal, bit of back and forth. So I'm just going to start out with the first question that Nick always asks is how and why did you get into diving? What was your first dive like? What was that first breath underwater?
What, how, and when, and why? Yeah, I guess it's sort of how shall I put it? The thing that sort of kicked me off, like sort of tipped me over the edge to go, this is something that I wanted to do, was it sort of was 3 pieces of a puzzle coming together, sort of my holy trinity. Because I was obsessed with watching from an early age, watching documentaries about wildlife, and especially the ones featuring David Attenborough, or should I say Sir David? Well, yeah, Sir David. And especially anything that involved scuba diving or just underwater footage. It was just something that really fascinated me. And as I grew a little bit older, another huge influence came into my life, and that was Sean Connery as James Bond in Thunderball. I think it's the 4th one he did. And that's where they really go scuba diving, and there's an all-out sort of brawl underwater, and that was sort of okay.
Is that the one where they end up fighting the underwater mechanical suit?
Yeah. The baddies got the black suits, black wetsuits on, and the goodies they got the orange ones, and spear gunning each other and knife fightings underwater. So yeah, I mean, at an age of about 10, 11, it's, that's if James Bond can do that, I want to do that. And then probably about 2 or 3 years later, I was helping my dad, or just basically tagging along. He was inspecting some tiles in the local swimming pool in the deep end, and he borrowed some scuba equipment from a dive master he knew. And I was there. I just loved being there and swimming and all that. So it was sort of a natural step to sort of have a look at scuba divers, and I saw my dad. So those were sort of my holy trinity to sort of get into diving, because a hero, Sir David, another one, James Bond, and then the best one, which was my dad. So it was sort of like, as soon as he popped up, it was like he got his sort of scuba unit off, and I sort of had to ask, so if sort of quite shyly as well, so is it okay if I have a go? And he's like, well, we have to ask the dive master, and I think I had a chat, and I got a crash course in it, and then I just tossed in the shallow end, and I was there with my then Speedos and a t-shirt, mask, scuba unit, no fins, no nothing, I was just crawling on the bottom, but I had the time of my life. And when I got up again, my dad could see the smile on my face, and asked if I enjoyed it. Yeah, massively. Yeah, do you feel cold at all? No, not at all. Well, your lips are blue. So I don't recollect how long I've been under, but long enough that I wouldn't say I was close to hypothermia, because, well, I might have passed something, but in any case, it was fantastic. So this was in November in 2000, and Christmas was coming up. So usually at that age, at about 13, you sort of expect, when you sort of gonna get that sort of Christmas gift from your mum and dad, it's gonna be the big box I got an envelope. It was sort of, okay, fair enough. But I was still at that sort of age that, okay, this might be something cool. And as I read it out, it was they're giving me a scuba certificate or a scuba course, open water scuba course for Christmas, which I myself and my dad did together in 2001. Yeah, so that's sort of how I got into diving. But my diving really didn't sort of kick off until 12 years later. Because I was, for some undescribable reason, I was petrified of kelp, which is which is really weird to sort of look back on now. Because what I love most about diving here on the Faroe Islands is just plunging into the kelp. It's such a weird universe down there. But yeah, I was petrified, but it was sort of in a way that it's really beautiful, but it's also sort of scary because, although I could see everything, it was still that sort of, I guess it comes from an earlier age, being sort of just standing along the shoreline, and anything you could just see that sort of brown leaves very close to the surface, you can see underneath it. So
I totally get that, because I like hate swimming in seaweed. I really don't like swimming in seaweed or kelp, but I love diving in it.
oh yeah, it's so beautiful. And the thing is, if you're swimming in it, just put a pair of goggles on, and it's a complete different experience because you can see anything under it. But if you just feel it sort of clinging to your body, it's sort of, ooh, what's this?
It's the slimy stuff dragging over your skin that I don't like.
All the sirens trying to pull you down.
Yeah, so it's the kelpies coming to get you.
Oh yeah, those are the ones. Yeah.
So you learned to dive when you're like 13, 14 in the Faroes.
Yes.
Did you do much diving in the Faroes at that time?
Nope. As I said, it took me 12 years to get back into diving. So I did my sort of required, four open water dives in a dry suit, and I didn't dive again for 12 years. Which I was, at the time, I was staying in Portugal, Lisbon, Portugal, playing sort of semi-professional rugby, and I had a bit of time on my hands, so that sort of lure of scuba diving was always there. So I just started looking up videos again, and so got in contact with the dive shop here in the Faroe Islands, and booked my advanced open water because I really love diving. It's just I might have matured a little bit. Got back home the summer of 2013. Did my advanced open water course. Obviously, being in a dry suit again was massively overweighted, like something like a 15-litre tank, steel scuba tank, and about 22 kilos of lead. But I was having a blast, and just that summer alone, I think I did like 20, 25 dives. So they were sort of racking up, and luckily I was also sort of shedding weight slowly, but it wasn't until I got back to Copenhagen, where I lived at the time, that I really got into diving.
So you were playing rugby in Portugal and decided to get back into diving. So you went back to the Faroes to do a diving course, and then went back to Copenhagen.
Yes, the long story of that, or in a short term, is I moved to Copenhagen in 2011. Wanted to become a construction engineer, but figured out quite early that school really wasn't me. And before that, I was playing a lot of handball here at top level, but I knew that if school should have any chance at all, I would have to stop playing handball. But I couldn't stop being a sports person, so I figured something, sort of a team sport with loads of contact, well, I'll give rugby a try. And turned out I was pretty decent at it. As only 2 years of playing, I got the opportunity to go to Lisbon. But yeah, then I moved back to had a longer summer holiday in 2013. Did my course, worked as a tiler with my dad, and then got back to Copenhagen to sort of see if I could give it that sort of last bit of go to see if it might turn in my favour, this sort of schooling thing. But the only thing I did in class was just watching YouTube videos of diving anywhere. Everything was diving, so I just said, sod it. I'll quit school and I'll see what I can do with diving.
So is that when you decided to become an instructor?
Yeah, it was. I sort of had can't remember what but it was somewhere around September thereabouts. Just started school up again in Copenhagen, and I sort of no, this isn't me. I want to be able to show other people scuba diving and the joy that it gives me, and hopefully that joy can be sort of passed on to someone else, and who knows, maybe someone will enjoy it even more. So it was sort of like, okay, got home, just wrote an application to sort of a job application and what it would take, because I was only advanced by the time, so I had to do my rescue, the emergency first responder, my dive master, and then I could enroll in an instructor. And so I just wrote an application, sort of, okay, this is me, this is my experience. I did have a little bit of sort of experience working in a shop. I was a fully educated bricklayer / tiler, so I do have some leadership skills as well. Wrote that in the application, Googled dive shops and dive centers in Copenhagen. The first one that popped up, got the address, walked in with an envelope. Here's a job application I'd like you to read. Walked out. And 2 days later, I was sitting in class and my phone called. Looked at it, didn't know the number, went out in the hallway, said, hello. Yeah, this was Kingfish. We just read your application. It looks interesting. Would you be up for a chat? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. When? Can you do in 30 minutes? Like, okay. Then I had to do the mental arithmetic to sort of figure out from where I was to could I get to. And since I was sort of in the middle of Copenhagen, and I knew the traffic pretty well, so like, yeah, I can be there in 20. Oh, brilliant. See you soon. Went back into class, packed my bag, just said ta-da, and off I went. Never got back.
So you never went back to uni after that?
No. To be fair, hats off to people who do go all the way in uni, because it's just not for me. I have to be a little bit more active physically and take my sort of challenges elsewhere.
I totally get that. So you then started working at the dive shop. I guess you did all your courses. So how long did that take you then to get all of that done?
This was late September in 2013. They sort of wrote me a list up. So these are the courses we want you to do, and we want to sort of see how it goes for you. And it will cost this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. When do we start? And then I enrolled in the different courses, but I sort of needed an income to sort of support this sort of new hobby of mine. I think I was, about a week after I quit school, it was sort of like, okay, I got a job as a bricklayer in Copenhagen, so I did that for just under a year or something like that. So, but yeah, from the time I worked as a tile bricklayer from early October till start May in 2014, because I had to do my instructor. It was sort of divided up, so I did my assistant instructor in Copenhagen, I did my open water scuba instructor in Oslo in Norway, and then I had to do my instructor examination in Stockholm in Sweden. So it was sort of flying all around. So yeah, from June 2013, when I got back into diving, did my advanced, and I think it was May 11th 2014, I was a newly certified PADI open water scuba instructor. And nice. I figured, okay, that's it. Because as I said previously as well, the thing that I want is to be able to show other people what they might be missing and the joy of diving. And I was like, okay, if I can teach people that would be perfect for me. But yeah, one door closes, another one opens, and then another one, and then another one. So before I even sort of really finished my instructor course, it was sort of like, okay, fair enough. There's this thing called technical diving that I might be looking a little bit into. And then my instructor, he was like, well, we do have a trip coming up this August, going to Egypt, to the Red Sea, where we can do 10 instructor specialties. Like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. So I went, May, and then August I went to there, did my 10 instructor specialties. I can't really remember which ones they were, but they were a few. And I just started teaching straight away, and it was loads and loads of fun. And October that same year, I started getting into technical diving. Did sort of entry level technical course called Basics of Exploration through Inner Space Explorers.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was sort of, and I, because the real hype back then was, it was really, really Sideman back then because, then you could be a cave diver and all that. So I got into Sideman diving. I really loved it. And then sort of in around October, I sort of committed to going to Florida in March of 2015 to do my first cave course. It was a lot of diving, but I loved it all the way.
Became an instructor, you got into tech diving. And then what happened next?
So we did the cave course and then got back home. Then there was this thing called trimix. Sort of you can dive with helium and go a little bit deeper. And then I started doing that. All the while I was still working at the shop and teaching every week. Yeah, basically I was a dive bum.
Nice. So did you do all of your instructing just sort of like Copenhagen and so basically Copenhagen, Baltic Sea, that area, or?
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of technical diving in the Baltic Sea, but as soon as I sort of became a sort of a cave diver, I sort of started looking at sort of caves, mines, and stuff around within reasonable distance of where I was, and preferably driving distance because flying with all your equipment might be a little bit expensive. We started going to Sweden, to Tuna Hesberg, a lovely mine, which is just fantastic. I mean, the water is somewhere around 3 or 4 degrees, and you're limited to about 90 minutes of scuba diving because it's cold and they do have to abide to some regulations. But the setup there is just phenomenal, and the diving is just breathtaking. I mean, the shaft, they don't really know how deep the shafts go, but from just the entry from the entry point, which is at ground zero, it's about 80 meters down to water level. Or you go down the shaft and then you can say, now I'm at 120 meter level, now I'm at 100, 150 too. So it just goes on down there. So, but it was a really cool sort of way to start getting into it and knowing the sort of local-ish people. Did a stint to southern France, to the Lot area, with a mate of mine that I worked with. Did some cave diving there, while another colleague of ours, he was up in the cold Norwegian fjords diving some wrecks, and we were down in the southern France with really, really good cuisine. So we were sort of sending each other sort of images of what we had that day. Just all the good food down there, and he was on his third day of frozen chili con carne, and but the main thing about diving is just the dive, so anything else is just fine. So and I ended up in Mexico as well, did some cave diving there, which is phenomenal. The decorations of the caves over there it's just I really do get why people go there, because they're shallow caves, so even on open circuit you can do really long dives, and if you want to do complex navigation it's easy as well, whereas in Florida, where I did my initial cave course, they're a bit deeper, the caves, sort of average depth is a little bit deeper, and some of them are really high flow caves, and some are just flow caves, but it gives you a little bit more of a challenge, and I'm happy that I did it that way around and not doing the Mexico first and then getting into Florida, which I really like the caves in Florida, because they're a little bit more sort of just, this is a tube you go through and then there are different branches, whereas the Mexico ones are just, there are different passages as well, but it's I wouldn't be able to pick one favorite from the other. It's just the experience of being in there. So
yeah, I mean, it's still on my big bucket list to get cave qualified.
Oh well, it will come. It will come.
It will come. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just fast forward a little bit. At some point, you obviously returned to the Faroe Islands. What prompted that return?
what prompted that was most likely because before I even moved to Copenhagen, I sort of had sort of a plan laid out. So it would take this amount of years to do the entry to uni, and then it was do the uni. I might do a master's, get a couple of years in sort of experiences in the work field as well. So I sort of set aside my sort of life calendar, approximately 8 to 10 years that I would do this. But after I said, 18 months or thereabout, I sort of figured out, you know what, it's not going to be school. It's not going to be that degree, because in the long term, I couldn't even see myself sitting behind a desk all day. Like, I have to be more physically active. And then my life led me to this sort of, going to rugby, and it was like, okay, fine, well, I've reserved these years, so I'm not just going to drop out and then go straight back home. I'm here, I want to experience something new, and so it got me to Lisbon, got me back to the Faroe Islands to do my courses, got me into to diving, which, I've been around a few places diving, which is just fantastic. You meet a lot of people, you keep up the network with them, and it's just a fantastic community. But after about I'd run my sort of stint in the dive shop that I worked at, it was sort of like, well, I'm ready to move back home. So June 2017, I moved back home with the idea starting to form about maybe opening my own dive shop. So that way I moved back, got into the board of the local dive club just to sort of scout my possibilities. What do you call it? What are the sort of, is there a market for it here? Is there enough people for it here? And what is the sort of, because obviously I could go for the tourist bit and just sort of take whatever comes in that way, but I wanted to have a base. I wanted to be able to teach, and especially you've been up here. I mean, we've got water everywhere, so
you've got a lot of it.
Yeah, and it's just silly that you're not sort of know more about diving, because everyone up here thinks when they ask me what I do, well, I'm a tiler and I'm a scuba diver. So, you work while you're diving, like a commercial diver? So, no, I just dive. And like, the reaction is, what do you dive for? What does that matter to you? I mean, I dive because it's really lovely, and you remember being in Jeg, those massive stairs. You always. Every time I come up from those stairs, which are what is an elevation of 30 meters, they're about 100 feet. Yeah. With the doubles, you're walking up these steps, taking it nice and slow. You got a burn in your legs because, it's just all. And then at the top of the stairs, people are always like, tourists, ooh, where you been? Hiking? It's like, I'm literally wearing the full-on scuba equipment. It's like, and he's like, we've just been diving. He's like, okay, what are you diving after? And it sort of becomes, up to a point, you can read people a little bit, and if you can joke with them. So usually we just pull their legs a little bit. It's like, we've been out searching for treasures, and it's like, and some people really buy into that, and then you just tell them after a while, no, I'm just pulling your legs. We've just been out here diving, enjoying ourselves. And what do you see? It's hard to describe because it's something else compared to what you can see above the surface.
Oh, totally. I mean,
which both are really dramatic in a way, but I'd say the underwater scene might be a little bit more mellow but vivid in a way, because the colours are so intense compared to above the surface.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because I've only been to the Faroes twice, but basically above water you've got blue and green. That's basically it, and a bit of grey.
A lot of white and grey too, because you have to remember we do have a lot of clouds, grey clouds, heavy clouds. But yeah, those are the sort of main colours.
True. The blue is mainly the water, and you've got a lot of white sheep all over the place.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
But underwater, it's like you say, it's a completely different world. It's really, really colourful down there.
Yeah, and you wouldn't really sort of believe it at first, because even just standing on the shore, you can see, it's just brown kelp. But even the brown kelp is just magnificently beautiful, because the different colours of that brown, it goes all the way over to sort of a yellowish one, and then over to a darker one, and check the videos because they are yeah. I take them straight out of my GoPro. I just post it out there, and it's just I don't edit it. I don't highlight any colors because one, I don't like to do that because this is what I see when I'm down there, and probably the main reason is I can't be bothered, and I mostly because I probably can't figure it out.
There's no shame in that.
No, it's you have to know your weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the best at editing videos.
Well, you've done a pretty good job the first time you went here. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah, you don't know how long it took me to make that video.
Quite a while, because I know when you were here, or when I was in Italy, I think it was.
Yeah.
Enjoying plucking some grapes and stuff like that. But yeah.
Plucking some grapes, drinking some wine, enjoying the sunshine, which I didn't have on the Faroes at the time.
Yeah, it can be varied, but yeah, definitely.
So you got involved in the local diving club, and then you started North Atlantic diving at some point.
I did, yes. So yeah, after about the first year of being in the dive club, it was sort of like, okay, I was starting to sort of get a little bit more people into diving, or some of the members that I think we ended up being around 10 guys in the group, sort of in 10 members that sort of went diving. We had a small rib boat, a polar circle, something, which handled, 6 divers with full equipment and all the bags in, so we could probably squeeze in another 2, but it would be pushing the boat. But yeah, around when we did any events at diving, we were usually somewhere between 3 and 6 of those members. We did some trips to some of the islands here, which weren't sort of land based, so you had to take a ferry out to them, and just sort of took weekend trips to that. And the interest was growing, and at the time I was sort of, okay, fair enough, maybe I can do sort of, in a way, some affiliation with the club, because I know that starting my own shop, it would be, or sort of our own centre, it would be commercial, which usually a dive club isn't. So I was thinking maybe sort of along some lines that we could do something that I could sort of, all my sort of students that I could certify, I could tell them to, all right, let's sign up to this club, and because they will probably have some equipment that you can rent and stuff like that. But yeah, it's sort of derailed quite quickly because there were some issues with some of the board members, which I was probably the reason why some of it happened, in the way that I was forward thinking and got new ideas, whereas maybe some of the older ones at the board were a little bit more sort of hesitant. And I couldn't see the club getting forward without some proper changes, but they didn't share my sort of views on it. I wanted the club to get a booster of some sort, so we could mix nitros, and along the way maybe some trimix if we got the right people in the club. I got told that was not to my face, but behind my back. But luckily, one of the guys told me. He's like, "Oh no, boy's talking about mixing gases. That's dangerous." Like, yeah, but I mean, you get someone at the club who knows how to mix the gases. He knows who's going to use it. He will demand to see the card, what level you are at, and he will mix the gases for you. But yeah, they apparently couldn't see that, because apparently nitrix is still a voodoo gas up here.
It's the devil's gas, isn't it? You don't
it is. I mean, you're going to die straight away.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I mean, that would be in their interest as well. I mean, why they could ask me, so okay, what would it take to certify some nitrix divers so we can have more activities down here? But again, it was a little bit of backward thinking from their side, and maybe I was sort of pushing it a little bit too quickly. They got uncomfortable with the ideas, maybe, and it just sort of rolled on like that for a while. And I was at the time I was sort of more getting into my own stuff, how I want to run my own dive center. And at the end of 2019, I had sort of figured out how much equipment I would need, how many dry suits, how many wet suits, how many of everything that I needed. got into touch with some dealers, Fourth Element from England, because I know Ranma quite well. We've been dive buddies and drinking buddies for quite a while. And I got her into being an instructor, and which sort of, in a way, reactivated her a little bit in the diving, because she's been doing a lot of diving in Australia, dive master and stuff like that. So I sort of, hopefully, I kicked her a little bit back into it, but in a way, we sort of pushed each other, and now she's just done this amazing expeditions over in Indonesia somewhere. It's Nixie, I think it's called.
Yeah, the Nixie expedition. That was in South Sulawesi.
Yeah, fantastic. So
absolutely amazing what they've been doing.
Yeah, I derailed. Oh yeah. It was the equipment, and then I got in touch with Real Diving, Johan from Real Diving in Sweden, because I wanted some specific brands, and I got some quotations from them for the equipment that I needed. I've got the figures. Okay, fair enough. Went to the bank because I didn't have that kind of money, so I needed a loan. Went to the bank that I've been a customer at for all my life. And it was just a straight no. There's nope. They just put their fingers in their ears and just nope. We're not going to listen to you. Okay, fair enough. And yeah, it was about 50k or if I can't remember what the quid is right now, but it's £60,000 or something like that. I think it was somewhere between 50 and 60. And it was like, no. Okay, I went to a smaller bank. They were like, okay, yeah, but you have to upfront us like 40% of it as your sort of own investment. Like, okay, fair enough. It's a yes, but it's an expensive yes. Then I went to a third bank, and they're like, this is leading up to Christmas, maybe a week before Christmas. And they're like, oh, this sounds amazing. They were like really enthusiastic about the whole project. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, if you can upfront like 20%. We'll loan you the rest. Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you. Let's go. But then I had to figure out how to get that lump of money, the £10,000-12,000, because I didn't have that ready cash. And then a friend of mine, he sort of jokingly said, "Well, you could just do crowdfunding, because there's a local crowdfunding here." And yeah, we just laughed a little bit at, ha ha ha, what a silly idea. But the idea actually stuck. So I got in touch with the crowdfunding people here, and they're like, okay, yeah, this is absolutely what could be done. So make a 2-minute video, get some really nice pictures, get some offers or some courses, some activities that you can offer at a reduced price, and well, basically what a crowdfunding is. So they would get some experiences.
That like a Faroese version of Kickstarter?
Yeah, literally is. I think it's sort of an affiliation with the Icelandic, but yeah, it's the Faroese one. It's called Hope Fudging, which basically just is directly a translation to crowdfunding. And yeah, it took me a while to sort of set it up and get the videos and have that all done. I decided to launch it at an event where I was allowed to make a 5-minute sort of pitch for people in the sort of tourist industry here, so I could tell them about this. And at that day, which was March the 6th in 2020, I launched my sort of crowdfunding, and here we go. It got really, really good. Sort of the initial sort of week was very good. I think I got around £3,000, and then on the 13th. Of March. We all know what happened back then. The whole world just shut down. Yeah,
everything stops.
Yeah, everything stops, because I got like, for every sort of crowdfunding that got in, it was like just got an email. Someone donated this, someone donated that, and they're like, "Oh, just texting back. Oh, thank you. This is really cool. Really looking forward to it." And then just after the 13th, it was just like 2 days, there was nothing coming in. I was like, well, I mean, yeah, no one could really have seen this one coming, so okay, right. I had a go at it, all right, well, I might have to rethink this. But then after, the third day, it sort of slowly started to ping on my phone again, and then it really just shot off. It was like, so the whole idea is you got like 40 days to sort of reach your goal. If you don't reach it, everyone gets their money back. It doesn't cost you anything, really. but anything above your sort of goal is just extra. So you got 40 days to do this, and after 17 days, whereof 2 were sort of gone due to Corona, I reached my goal, and I ended up, with about 17,000. So I was way ahead of what I needed to sort of bring to the bank, and as soon as the sort of crowdfunding ended, I just rang my bank, said, right, let's just start buying. I was like, oh no, pump your brakes, kid. We need to see the money in your account first. Oh, for fuck's sake. So I think it was about a week or something like that, and then the money was in the bank. It was like, okay, fine, just called Fourth Element, called the Real Diving, and I'll just pack it and send. And they had been so kind, because I've been sort of informing them sort of along the way that, okay, I've reached my goal, so this is definitely happening. So they already packed the orders. They were ready to go. So like, okay, just told my bank assistant or bank man to just pay the invoices so I could get my stuff. And it took probably about 2 weeks, and then I had to set everything up. And then I did my first sort of activities mid-May, thereabouts, and then I started my first course, I think it was in the start of June. Did my first courses then, my first open water courses as my own sort of diving instructor, or under my own company. Since then, I've certified 150, whereof maybe 5 have been foreigners doing their sort of dry suit courses on their way sort of further to Iceland to do Silfra. It's been quite hectic, but it's been so much fun. Tourists, I think I had about 7 or 8 in 2020, even though it was Corona, because we were apparently really good at sort of maintaining the spread. So it was a little bit open. 2021 was a little bit more, maybe 25. And then 22 was a really good year, because I think we've had like around 70, 75 thereabouts of tourists coming. Last year was around that same. And then this year hasn't been as many. Don't know really why, but might have something to do with that I closed down for a month, because in mid-July this year, we conducted the first PADI IDC and instructor examination here in the Faroe Islands. So and we got 4 new scuba instructors here. So hopefully now I can relax a little bit more when it comes to teaching, and we can sort of have one another to help. So if one of my other instructors is sick, I can step in, and the other way around. So it's not all based on me. But yeah, they're good guys. I'm really looking forward to the next year. So,
funnily enough, that was the next question on my list. So how did that first PADI instructor course go?
Well, it was hectic. No, I had good help from Paddy initially, trying to sort of sort everything out. But then again, it's such a big organization, and when you're sort of doing it for the first time, you will overlook some bits of it. But all in all, I mean, I can point fingers at Paddy. They can point fingers at me, and most of it is on mail, on black and white, so we can sort of okay, I can see that that's maybe a misunderstanding, how you misinterpret stuff. But all in all, they were quite good. There were some sort of I wouldn't say issues, but some days when it was a bit more hectic, because we did have a lot of problems with the sort of their e-learning, because it was saying something, but again, I was very stressed because this was my first one, and I had my instructor, Rasmus Dusted. He was here to help me out as a course director, and I did my staff instructor prior to the course. So I was on course, and then I had to sort of follow this course just to sort of see how it goes. And it was a lot to sort of cope with, but I think in the end we got through, and to have some fun with it, or I wouldn't say it was that fun, but so we had an instructor examiner coming this way, and at the same day that Rasmus had to leave for Copenhagen again, this examiner had to come to the Faroe Islands, and they were basically on the same plane. The plane couldn't land because apparently there was fog, Although we saw 2 other planes land, we're not going to name any companies because you will know which one will land and which one will not. And I was like, oh bleep, this is gonna be difficult. So I was in touch with the instructor examiner. I got got Rasmus back to a hotel and drove him back to the airport the day after, while I was still talking to the instructor examiner, because this other company that he flew with, they just got back to Copenhagen the day prior, and they're like, okay, yeah, sorry. They didn't give them any opportunity to sort of get on another plane and try again. So there was just nope, nothing to do. And on our way, on the second day, and this is when the IE instructor examination should start. We were on our way to the airport, so I could send Rasmus off. And on our way in the subsea tunnel, he gets an email from this company, and they said, "Well, sorry, flight's cancelled. It's not going to land." And he's like, "Oh, you got to be," and he just really wants to get home. And I just told him, that was the second day, yeah. And I just told him, "Oh yeah, mate, go on to this other local company, buy a ticket because they will fly." He bought the ticket. Yeah, it wasn't any problem at all. So, and while all of this was happening, because it wasn't departing for another couple of hours or how many times, I can't really remember, I had to sort out a way to get the examiner to the Faroe Islands. So the Faroe Islands being a small place, I had to pull up all my sort of contacts, and I actually rang to one of the pilots and asked if he was the one flying. He's like, no, it's not me this time. Why? What's the problem? I told him what the problem was, because I do know him, and I do know that they usually have like 2 folding seats that they can take someone extra. And he's like, "Oh yeah, no problem. I'll see who's flying this one. You just buy sort of a queue ticket, basically. So you sort of a hopeful ticket." So yeah, and he would sort it out. And I went over to the counter, like, I just need a ticket. Just get me that one ticket, because I will figure this one out. And I was like, okay, yeah, really slow, and then got the ticket, got a phone call from a pilot friend. He's like, yeah, I talked to the pilot. It's no problem. Just send me the name and all that, so he can tell whoever he needs to tell. Like, okay, fair enough. And he's like, oh yeah, and get in there now. Like, you're fine. So I had to call the examiner, just tell him, pack a backpack, get straight to the airport. I've got a ticket for you. I got a flight for you, and you will land. He was like an hour away from the airport, and the plane was leaving at like the departure time of 90 minutes thereabouts. So he had to find a parking lot, get everything in, and on the way he just calls me, do you have a boarding card? Because I don't want to really go through all that sort of, it's like, yeah, I should. Then I went over to the counter. Can I have that boarding card? No, because he's on a sort of waiting list. Like, is there anything I can do? Nope. Big sigh. Well, just fingers crossed. And then 5 minutes after that, got a ping on my emails like, you can now check in, Mr. Yada yada yada. Okay, just checked him in. Like, sent him the boarding card. And he's like, yeah. So, and they actually met Rasmus and the examiner. They met in the gate, and they had a chat, and then swapped planes, and then we started a little bit late, but we got everyone through.
Oh, congratulations, Sophie.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you to the guys. Yeah, and it was really something. And they were finished on the 27th of July, and yes, there was partying afterwards. And the 27th of July is also Gay Pride here in the Faroe Islands, which is sort of a pre-fest to our national holidays, which are July 28th and 29th. So there was a lot of partying. Yeah, and then we went to Egypt on the 1st of August, or flew to Denmark, stayed there for a couple of days, and then to Egypt for a week. So yeah, it was sort of like a massive month that was just closed, which then was sort of maybe why I haven't had as many tourists this year. One of the reasons why I was a little bit sort of frantic and all over the place during this sort of instructor in IDC, because I got an email or a call from a friend who told me that someone was here and they want to go scouting a little bit for a movie project that we're gonna do, and had involved a little bit of water, and they wanted someone local. Okay, fine, I'll give it a go. Yeah, I ended up becoming a sort of a safety diver and stunt diver thingy for this film. Yeah, they finished it in September, end of September, I think it was, called No Rest for the Wicked. Can't really say too much about it. I don't really know the whole plot of it, but it involves, as the main star, it's Pilar Aspek, one of the Greyjoys from Game of Thrones, a Danish actor. It's supposed to air, I think it's March, April, May next year. I can't remember. But it was really, really good fun to be able to work on that. So that's maybe something that we, in North Atlantic Dive, that we will sort of try and look a bit more into. And apart from that, I think the main thing that I will try and focus on right now is to sort of organize it a little bit more, the diving bit of my business, because as of now, it's been sort of every day I can go diving, and every day people can book a dive, which is fun if you can do only that. Mm-hmm. But I do have another business that needs quite a lot of work as well, because as I said earlier, I'm a tiler, and that is a 8 to 5 job, sometimes even longer. So that sort of really pays the bills. So what I've been thinking is to sort of optimize my structure a little bit more. So probably you can book in 2 days in the week, and then the weekend you can book freely. Because that way we might be able to squeeze in a bit more people, so it will be more sort of economically and financially viable to go out rather than to have just the one. You might end up with having 2, 3, maybe 4 going out, and that will make the financial bit of it a little bit cooler, and hopefully it will be sort of a bit more concentrated, and then you can have the weekends, because usually weekends are off, and also for my other instructors and dive masters, because they have day jobs as well, so it sort of has to be a little bit more viable for them as well. So it's not always me that has to go and drop all my sort of tiling tools and then just go diving. Although I'd really, really love to be able to do that, but it's just you have to think of the financial bit as well. So a little bit more structure, but yeah, it's sort of a learning every day. So take something good from it and then go forward.
And make it better.
Well, hopefully, yeah.
Cool. I'm looking forward to see how that works out for you.
Well, so do I.
So, do you want to talk about the worst dive you've ever done?
Oh, the worst dive?
Don't say it was a dive with me, please.
No, but it was close. No. No, I mean, oh, jeez, yeah. The week you were here this year, that was quite fun though, and you are.
It was.
And you are a solid diver, so there's no question about it, and you have the right mentality about it. You can see that you need to improve and stuff, and you always want to improve. So I've really enjoyed diving with you because you do take feedback.
That's very kind.
You in that way you're sort of humble, but you're not afraid to sort of argue why you might have be doing something. So you as long as you do have a case, it's always valid. But I find that as well, you have to be humble. And what I did usually is I always ask for is there anything I could do better, because the only way I can be better is by knowing that and wanting to be better.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like staying humble but staying hungry.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But yeah, the worst dive, I can't really say that I've... Well, I mean, the worst dive is the one you have to cancel, or one that you actually don't get into the water of. Those are definitely the worst, but if the reason is good why you don't get into the water is fine. But I'm guessing you're sort of already in a dive for this scenario.
It's an interesting question, because I think I'd have a hard time answering it as well. I mean, I've had a number of dives just sort of naff.
Well, I mean, there was one there's a wreck out here that we usually dive. It's about max depth of 23 meters. Really nice wreck.
Is that the one in the channel off the east coast of Stream?
Yeah, the Olar Gregersen, sank in 84. January '84. Captain was drunk. Sailor ran ashore, and yeah. And apparently there was some alcohol on board. So the diving club back then they were quickly to go on a salvage mission.
Okay.
No, but yeah. So and we were sailing out there, and the weather was fantastic. I brought my rebreather with me, and we were I think we were 5 guys going, myself included, and I helped the guys get into the water, and then I put my rebreather on and asked someone to pass my bailout. Got in the water, felt a bit of a leak on my sort of left foot. Like, nah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Descended straight down to the bottom of the wreck. Like, I could just literally feel my suit filling up because apparently the hole wasn't that small. It's just because when you're vertical on the surface, sort of it squeezes a little bit, so it didn't really sort of flood too much in. But as soon as I got into trim, it was right at my ankle, so it was just pouring in. And I just told the guys, okay, you guys just swim ahead, and I have to go up. Try to explain to them that my suit was leaking, pointing at my feet and just going bubbles, and like, what are you talking about? It's just you guys just dive, I'm going up. And got up to the surface. I think it was about maybe 5 minutes. Got out, got in the boat, took off my gear, opened my suit. Probably maybe 10, 15 litres of seawater I was able to sort of pour out in my dry suit. Yeah. But luckily the weather was fine, so yeah. And they were in there for about an hour, and they got up and they were like, "Oh, amazing dive," because the visibility was brilliant. And they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, well, I mean, I got to see it, so yeah, I got to see the wreck." So that's a terrible dive because you have to sort of abort it. But again, it's your own fault. It's if the suit isn't proper. So yeah, but I think it was my backup suit as well.
Okay, so the counter question to that: what was the best dive?
Oh, jeez. There have been so many. I mean, it's there was one I did in Tuna Hesburg in Sweden with a friend of mine, Johan Bergman, one that I met through local people up there. We did a couple of dives there in the mine state for a weekend for a birthday party, 30th birthday party for Sarah Banderby. That we organised because we figured, well, we have to have a party for her, and we've been talking about getting to Tuna and diving it together for quite a while, and then it finally happened. So we just said, okay, that's the day we're going to do it. And then I met Johan a couple of years before that, and we ended up diving together, and it's just such a cool guy. The shaft I was talking about, because the first sort of level you get down to in the mine is about 35 meters. And he's like, oh yeah, but there's another level 40 meters deeper, so about 75. So he's like, okay, we're going to do this path, and then we're going to go into the shaft, so from 30 meters or 35, and then we're just going to drop down through this sort of shaft going down to 75. It was just beautiful. And on our way back, we knew that Alec Dawson, he was doing some shoots as well. So at 50 meters, we sort of rounded a corner, so we got up to him to see this massive room, a proper cathedral just lit up. Like, I know it was a big room, but my lights were never strong enough to sort of light it up, and to see it, it was like, oh man, this is something else.
I think Alex takes like half the sun down there with him, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's something else to dive with him, because you are literally able to see everything.
That's fantastic.
So that was a pretty good dive as well. And they do have a small habitat at about 4 meters, I think it is. I can't really remember. So you literally just, in your suit, you just sort of float up there, and there's just inflate your BCD or your wing, and you just lie there sort of just looking at your time. Oh, okay, that's it. That's me done with DK, and then you go up, and it's a fantastic setup they do have there. Another dive was probably in Mexico. We were diving, me and two other guys. We were diving Nariz, a cenote over there. We were on rebreathers as well with double bailouts, and we ended up doing a almost 6-hour dive, and it was just absolutely amazing. It's hard to describe it, but it's and no scooters, so literally swimming for 6 hours, and it was absolutely fantastic. Good mates, good dive, good cave, but probably the best dive. Yeah, no, I honestly can't put, because there are so many good ones. You have like with the sort of, this was a really good dive for that particular reason. This one was a really good dive for that particular reason. So I don't think I've had my best dive yet, if that's sort of a way to put it.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Because it's hard to pick one, but yeah, it's and even the worst one. Yeah, I've had computer failures on my rebreather inside a cave in Florida. That was pretty shit, but we got out. We could sort of compare computers with my buddies because I knew their profile, we knew each other, so we could sort of do a little bit of on-the-fly deco and then just add a bit more to mine and then just watch for signs and symptoms of anything. But it was cool. Yeah, no, I can't say that I really have had any really bad experiences diving. Well, I mean, I ran out of air once, but got in the water the day after, so...
These things happen.
They do.
If you could go anywhere in the world, dive with anyone, who would you take with you? Where would you go?
Tricky. Very tricky. Because my girlfriend, she just got certified, so if I could go anywhere in the world, I would probably take her with me.
Mm-hmm.
So if she were at the same diving level at me, that would make it a lot easier. But no, it's, for me, anywhere where there's water. I don't mind diving single tank, silly dives. I don't mind doing long dives, deeper dives, as long as there's something at the end of it. There's something there. But I would definitely want to go to Truck Lagoon. I've been meaning to go 3 times. 2 times it was cancelled. No, one time I cancelled it. Another time it got cancelled for different reasons. And then the last time I was supposed to go was in 2020. And we all know what happened then. So hopefully fourth time's the charm.
I mean, 2020 is clear you didn't go because that's when you opened your dive centre. So.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it's that's definitely on the bucket list. But yeah, the Mediterranean is quite interesting. I want to do a bit more of cave diving, mine diving, because there are some really cool mines and caves around here in Europe that I don't think people know enough about. Because there's always the sort of beautiful ones. It's the Mexico ones. It's the sort of with the more decorative ones. Whereas, yeah, I think actually I'm a bit more of a cold water diver, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So for me, it would probably be mines in Europe because they're a bit colder. I would love to do Orda again in Russia. Mm-hmm. That was really, really, really beautiful mine. But apparently it's not so smart to go there right now. But when we were there, it was such a nice place. It's people are friendly and all that. So it's just a shitty situation everyone's in, and especially those poor souls down there fighting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's I would love to do more Norway, the wrecks down there, all along the coast. Well, I mean, you could do Norway for a year and not even have done enough because they've got so many pristine wrecks from Second World War and all that. So it's wrecks would be that's the sort of history behind it as well, and more expeditions, and but again, it's hard to say.
Would you consider yourself more of a wreck diver, a mine diver, cave diver, open water instructor?
I've actually thought quite a lot about that. What am I as a diver, sort of, because I don't really have one sort of. So I'd say I'm the all-round diver, and not because I don't want to piss off anyone. It's just that, again, as soon as I come, even when I'm teaching, I get to go into the pool. I love it. I'm weightless. I get to dive. I get to be there. So it's for me, that's really the thing that sort of pulls me in. So if there's a wreck there, perfect. I'll happily dive a wreck. If there's a mine, I'll go into the mine, a cave, or it's whatever boats to float. It's literally just getting under. That's what floats my boat or sinks it. I don't know. Oh, do you ever get those? Well, I bet you do. You ever sort of just drive around or take a walk? You look out to the sea and you see like this beautiful ship. It doesn't have to be beautiful, just like, and you just sort of think, oh, I wish you would sink right now. And then you're like, oh no, I can't say that. Well, I mean, at least everyone gets off the boat alive, and then you can sink.
Then you can sink. To be honest, no, I haven't had that, but
I've even dreamt of that, and then I'm in my dreams like I'm driving, I'm just seeing a ship going down, and I'm literally on my phone to my mates, pack our gear, we're going diving. And then you wake up and you feel horrible because it's sort of perverted dream to sort of, I mean, morbid almost.
No, I probably have never thought of that because my dad drives ships for a living.
Yeah, that's but it's just you can sort of see it. Oh yeah, I would love to dive that ship.
I do get it. It's quite cool. Nick usually rounds out the interviews with an advice question. I've been struggling hard to think of something you could give me some advice on, or give the listeners of the podcast advice on. So, someone who doesn't have much experience in cold water diving, but is looking to get into cold water diving, why should they come to North Atlantic Diving and do a course with you? That's a joke. What advice would you give people who wanted to get into cold water diving?
Well, obviously you need some thermal protection. You need to get yourself sorted out with a dry suit because that will help you. Yes, you can do cold water diving in wetsuits, but you just bulk up quite a lot. It's not particularly nice if it's just a little bit windy. You get out of the suit after the dive, and that sort of chill factor, because you're even in a wetsuit, you're sort of moist a little bit, so it's not as comfortable. And the thermals, especially when you do cold water diving, it's just a lot nicer when you get out that you are actually dry underneath and you do have thicker thermals, because it really helps. And take it slow, because it's colder water, so your body functions will sort of slow down a little bit, because fingers they tend to get numb, so dry gloves would be a good extender of your fingertips getting cold. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just get into it slowly, because I do believe that cold water diving is, I wouldn't say superior to warm water diving, but it holds a bit more challenges. Because I did my courses in dry suits, and I've been diving a lot here. So when I go the other way around, so I go to the Red Sea, or I go to wherever, the tropical places, I can dive in shorts, maybe a t-shirt, and it's very easy. But if you do the other way around, you do your main courses and dives in warmer waters, it's hard to get into the colder water. So that's definitely why you have to take it slow if you're new to it. But yeah, I think it holds something more special, because although I do love corals, they are quite exposed, like in the media. And if you tell people that you're a diver, their thought might pretty quickly go to an image of the Great Barrier Reef or the Red Sea with the corals and the beautiful fishes, whereas we do have quite a fair amount of beautiful colours around here as well.
Cool.
So I don't know if it's an advice, but yeah, just go out diving. Just go get in contact with someone who's done it a lot, and yeah, knows his way around it.
There's some good advice there. So thermal protection, dry suit, take it easy, take it slowly, and enjoy it. Boy, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure to have you on there, and it's always fantastic talking to you.
Likewise, mate.
Offgassing, a scuba podcast.